The word courage, according to Paul Tillich in his seminal book, The Courage to Be, he defines courage as affirmation of one's own being in spite of those elements of his existence which conflict with his essential self-affirmation. I'm going to read it again. Courage is the affirmation of one's own being in spite of those elements of his existence which conflict with his essential self-affirmation. In other words, courage means I'm standing in who I am and what God has told me in spite of the elements in my life, around my life, that conflict with what I'm standing on, which is who I am and what God has told me. Let me see. How can I? Courage is standing in who I am, even though there are some aspects of my own life that conflict with who God said I'm going to be. Come here, Moses. Come here, Moses. Come here, Moses. I want you to be a prophet to Israel. Hold on, God. Prophet, God. Time out. You want me to be a prophet, but I can't put two words together behind each other. So it's now going to take courage for somebody with a speech impediment to now speak on the behalf of God. Courage, again, is standing in who I am and who God has called me to be in spite of those conflicting elements in my nature. So how could God call you to be a prophet when you can't even speak right, when you got a stuttering problem? It takes courage to stand up in who you are and in who God has called you to be in spite of the elements that conflict with the thing God told you to be. So Moses, I knew what you couldn't do when I called you. Come on. I knew your limitations when I called you to be a prophet, but if I called you to be a prophet, then that means I want to use you in spite of the elements that conflict with your nature. So I don't care how you got to talk to Pharaoh, but when I say you're going to go to Pharaoh, I'm going to anoint your voice, I'm going to anoint your words. So if you stand in front of Pharaoh and say, God said, let my people, I don't care how you got to say it, it's not in your fluency, it's not in your articulation, it's in your obedience, Moses. And from your obedience, that's how I'm going to anoint the words that are on your hand, on your life. And too many of us have so many reasons why God can't use you. God, you know, I can't do this, and I've never been to school. God said, I don't care how you got to do it. I don't care how you got to say it. You're going to be everything I called you to be, even if you got to stutter while you doing it. Because you can, if I say God said you're going to be this, you can rattle off 13 reasons why God can't use you. Faster than God says, I called you to be, you can give God 7 reasons why God can't use me. But courage says, I'm going to believe in what God said and stand on it in spite of the elements that are conflicting with what God told me.